Appreciate you sponsoring our convention. We saw you up there, and also one of our affiliates that is a major investor in RPAC. So thank you, thank you, thank you. We appreciate you. And I think, David, correct me if I'm wrong, Idaho Realtors, if you need some more information about these home warranties, you can find that on our Idaho Realtor website as well. I think there's a link there. So thank you, Mason. We appreciate you. Okay, well, without further ado, I would like to welcome into the room Jason Risch. He needs no introduction, but I'm going to give him one anyway. He is one of the most brilliant people I've ever met. Super funny, and he has been with our association attorney for 12 years now. He knows what we do every day. He knows our industry, and we have come to absolutely rely on him over the years to keep us up to date on things that are changing in our world. Our subject matter today, and David, is Jason with us? I'm not seeing him.
Here. Oh,
yeah. Okay.
Can you see me now? There I am.
Yay! Oh, with all his legal books, you guys, he could not lead us wrong. Look at all those books. The information that he's going to give us today, guys, is absolutely crucial to our business. And so without further ado, Jason, I want to turn the time over to you. And I also want to remind you, Idaho Realtors and affiliates, if you have questions, type those right down. We've got David Hensley, the CEO of Idaho Realtors, and our staff that is going to be watching for those questions. So Jason, welcome. Happy Wednesday webinar this morning.
Yes, thank you very much. I'm happy to be here and happy to help out. I appreciate that introduction. It's always questionable as to whether I can live up to those types of introductions or not, but we'll do our best here today. So as Madam President said, my name is Jason Risch. I'm a partner with the firm of Risch Pisgah PLLC. We provide general legal services in all real estate matters. We represent the Idaho Realtors in several aspects, from sitting on the forms committee and advising those great members that help draft up the statewide forms that we use, to running the Realtor Legal Hotline. If you call that hotline, you're most likely going to be talking to me to help you get through your problem that you have going on, as well as just serving as general legal counsel and providing advice to the EC and the board and different things that come up. My law partner, Jeremy Pisgah, also helps out with the government affairs side of things, works with Max Pond to help provide services in that aspect to IR. So, and as Madam President said, been doing this for a long time. We know your industry, we know it well. What we wanted to bring to your attention today is an issue that's pretty timely, and it's an important issue to talk about because it sort of came up once. It peaked and we talked about it for a little bit a couple of years ago, but then it went away, and we gave people an update as to what was going on when it went away. Well, it's back, and it's important because if you were tuned in 2 years ago and you heard it went away and wasn't a thing, it's a thing now. So we've had a 180 degrees change in this topic. What we're talking about is website compatibility with the Americans with Disability Act. The idea, we know what the ADA is. We've all heard of it before. It's a good thing. The ADA provides Americans with disabilities access to a lot of the features, obviously across America. We know that most familiar that you see the ramps that are in place to allow people to wheel wheelchairs into a physical location. You've seen Braille on different things. These are all part of the ADA. The act itself is a good act. How it's being used in this particular aspect is probably suspect, but you can draw your own conclusions from that. Certainly it started with some good ideas and some people that want to do some good things, but there are some people who are going to take advantage of it and target individuals. Some of the individuals we're seeing targeted are real estate brokerages, so that's why this is important to you. We've talked just a little bit about the ADA and how it works. You have to have just a little bit of an understanding of how it works before we get into the topic as to how this has come up and how it's affecting you. The ADA is a series of statutes that were passed by Congress. Congress, like all legislative bodies, passes laws. At a federal level, they do it a little bit differently than they do it at the state level. When they take on a major act like this, you'll see that they will pass a law. They'll pass actually I've heard of it referred to as they pass ideas, and they codify those ideas, and then they rely on the various agencies to put rules in place to implement those ideas. So the Americans with Disabilities Act was no different. The very specifics of the act and how they applied were left to the different federal agencies to create rules, which then would provide the specific details in the implementation. So the idea behind the ADA was that anybody that had a place of public accommodation had to had to make certain accommodations for folks that would have disabilities, whether the disability is physical, whether the disability is maybe deaf or visually impaired. Doesn't matter what the disability is. If you have a place of public accommodation, you are to try to help those folks out, and a lot of it, you can do fairly easy, but it's just the act was important to sort of bring it forefront to everybody's mind. So once the act was passed, there were some specific rules put in place, especially with accessibility, like I'm saying, physical access to buildings, right? We know that we've seen a lot of those. And so those rules were pretty specific. One of the areas, though, that was not very specific was when it comes to websites and what does it mean to have ADA compliance with websites? That duty was placed, or that obligation through the statute, through Congress, was placed on the Department of Justice. The Department of Justice was to come up with some rules as to how to figure it out. Congress had a good idea. They said, look, if we're going to have the internet out there and people are going to be using it for a lot of their day-to-day lives, we want to make sure that certain accessibility standards are met. And so DOJ, you guys go figure out how to do that. And so that's kind of the statute, and that's where it was left. So put a pause in that for a second. And with what Congress is doing, so now we kind of shifted to the DOJ. The DOJ started down the road to try to make some rules, and this has been going on now for I don't remember the specific timeline. I want to say it was about a decade or so, where the DOJ never published any rules, and they have to go through a process when they're doing, when they come up with rules. They have to have public comment. They'll have experts and professionals come in and help them create these rules. They started the process, but it faltered, and they never really got across the goal line. And there's a lot of speculation as to why. Some courts have even said it was intentional, that they didn't want to provide these guidelines because they wanted to have some flexibility. But at any rate, the rules were never created. There was never a standard that said, if you're going to have a website, here is how you comply with the law, the ADA law, right? With physical access to buildings, we know. How do I comply with the ADA law? There's a rule. It says you have to have a ramp. It has to be this, they actually have, the grade, right? It's all called out in rules so that folks with wheelchairs can have access to a building. So it's easy for somebody who's constructing a building. They can go look at the rules and they can say, oh, okay, I have to have a ramp. It has to be this wide. Can't have right angles, something of that nature. I'm not sure what all those are, but you can find them and you can comply with them and you can feel comfortable with it. Not so when designing a website. This is an area that's pretty vague. And so people have been designing websites, and professionals out there, we all know, we hire people to make these great websites. But as far as accessibility goes, even if somebody wanted to comply with those, they're not provided with a clear rule from DOJ. So they don't know how to comply with that. They can try, but ultimately it's sort of an unknown. So that was the state of the law. When the first lawsuit, the seminal lawsuit, it's Robles v. Domino's. And I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing Robles' name right. I've heard it pronounced a couple different ways, but he was a gentleman. Mr. Robles was visually impaired, and he was using the Domino's website and or app on his phone, and he's trying to order his pizza. And he was struggling in doing so. And so he got frustrated and found a lawyer. He and his lawyer then sued Domino's and said, hey, you haven't complied with what Congress said. Congress said that if you run a place of public accommodation, you have to provide auxiliary aids and services to me as a visually impaired person so that I can engage in your services. The easiest example of this is if literally a blind person can walk into McDonald's, they can find their way to the counter, and they are then provided with a Braille menu. McDonald's keeps these behind their behind the counter there, and they can hand it to you, and a visually impaired person that can read Braille can then see, hey, I got a Big Mac cheeseburger. What do I want? So in this case, the visually impaired person, Mr. Robles, was using the app to try to get that done and was unable to get there. And so he sues Domino's, and he says, hey, like I said before, you're not meeting the statute. You're not complying with the ADA. The lawsuit goes to court, and the district court hears Domino's objections to this, right? So Domino's defends itself, and Domino's says, or goes to court and asserts the defenses and says two things. First of all, a website is not a place of public accommodation, right? It's not a physical place, a building that you walk into. Our stores are, and our stores are compliant, but our website doesn't have to be because it's not a place of public accommodation. That was their first defense. Their second defense was, all right, even if it is, we have no idea what we're supposed to do because the DOJ hasn't given us those rules, and they've had 10 years to do it. They haven't done it, and they made that argument. So those two arguments went to the district judge. The district judge considered both of them, and they had arguments and briefing, and like you do in a lawsuit. And the district judge ultimately said, well, your places, the fact that you're not a place doesn't fly. You are a place. The ADA does, or your website is a place, as it's termed in the statute, because it is, they focused on services of a place, not services in a place, right? So it's not about, are you in Domino's trying to get a pizza? It's, are you trying to get a pizza from Domino's? So they looked at the bigger picture and they said, we don't buy your first defense. We think your website is a place, just like a menu would be, to advertise your services and to describe what you have available. So the websites they got to comply with ADA. And that really wasn't, I don't think, too big of a question. The bigger argument was, how do we comply with this? The DOJ hasn't made any rules. And so they asserted a due process argument under the 14th Amendment of the Constitution, which says that if the government's going to pass rules and impose them on its citizens, they have to be clear enough so that the citizens can understand what the law is and not break it. And so Domino's was saying, you didn't tell us what the law was clear enough so that I could not break it, right? You told the DOJ to do it, and they didn't do it. And so that was their argument. And the district court agreed, and they dismissed the lawsuit. Domino's won at the district court level. And that was that's kind of where we had left it. That was round one. And so if you were tuned in a couple of years ago and you heard about ADA and you heard about all this going on and that your industry was involved, you probably heard that that's okay. Justice prevailed and the district court threw it out. And so it's okay. It's not that big of a deal. That is not where we are today. Because the district court, the federal district court that made this decision had the fortune of being in the Ninth Circuit. And there's lots of comments about how the Ninth Circuit's behaving out there. And we know we're in Idaho, we're in the Ninth Circuit. So we've heard some of the rumblings that are out there and criticisms. So you can draw your own conclusions. But ultimately, the Ninth Circuit said, yes, we agree with the district court about the place, that your website needs to be ADA compliant, but we disagree that you didn't know what you were supposed to do. And they went through and found that Domino's was put on notice sufficiently by the statute, even without a rule from the DOJ, that their website should have been compliant with some sort of standard, even though there wasn't necessarily a standard established by the DOJ, that Domino's could have done more and should have done more to help out the visually impaired folks. And so the Ninth Circuit overturned and reversed the district court. The matter was then appealed to the United States Supreme Court. However, last December of 2019, the United States Supreme Court refused to grant certiorari, which just simply means they don't comment. They don't say, yes, we agree, or no, we don't agree. We're just not going to hear it. It didn't make it before them. So that means the Ninth Circuit law stands. And the circuits have then picked this up, and there's obviously multiple circuits across the United States. They can have different standards. But for us who live in the Ninth Circuit has said that the ADA applies to websites, and there is a standard that you have to meet. And if you don't, you can be held in violation. Okay, so that's the legal aspect. That's how we got where we got to today. So you may be thinking, all right, if that's where we're at, surely the DOJ has come forward to try to fix this for us, and they've given us some rules and some guidelines. Not the case, not yet anyway. So what courts have been doing is, and some of these lawsuits have picked up again because the Supreme Court didn't get involved and because the Ninth Circuit revived it and other circuits have allowed it to continue. the courts have found some violations of this situation. So what they did, how they went to when they couldn't find a standard articulated by DOJ, they started looking what was the industry standard out there, and they found some standards that were picked up. It's called the WCAG, and it stands for Web. Actually, I shouldn't even try to guess what the acronym is because I'll get it completely wrong. But it's called WCAG, and it is a standard that is used by a lot of places, including the DOJ on their website and the various federal government websites that are out there. That's the standard that the government uses. And so a lot of courts have adopted that and said that is an industry standard. That's what you have to meet with. And it is changing constantly. Right now I think we're on version 2.2. It is constantly being updated, and those standards are changing. I am not going to get into standards as to what they are because it's very, very technical. It's very detailed. Most of us wouldn't know how to comply with the standards anyway. That's where your professional web designers come in. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how you can help yourself come into compliance. But let's talk for just a second about how this affects you. What we're seeing out there in your industry, and for whatever reason, obviously a pizza store was the first line of attack, and they wanted to go after the pizza store. Your real estate industry is also on the table, right? We're starting to see some letters sent out to brokerages across the country. They're getting these demand letters from lawyers that are saying your website is not in compliance, and we're going to sue you. Now, like I said before, the ADA started with, had good intentions, and there may be people out there with good intentions. There are also people out there with bad intentions. We know that there is a law firm specifically out of New York that was sending these letters out to brokerages all across the country and saying, unless you pay us $5,000, we're going to sue you. So it was really just you could term it as extortion or blackmail letters, however you want to phrase them, but they are demand letters from law firms, to a brokerage. You need to take them seriously. This whole conversation gets complex because when you can say, Domino's, you need to comply with help for visually impaired, you can understand how that works. Somebody comes onto the Domino's website, they can't, see the pictures of the pizzas and the different things that are there. But the technology that the visually impaired folks use when they're browsing the web, uses some technology that's in the background. And what it'll do is it'll literally speak to the person who's looking at the screen, and it will say, if you need to talk to somebody to order a pizza, dial 208-555, 1234. That person, the visually impaired person, can hear that and then call somebody and like I said, like it's 1985, talk to a live person, get a pizza delivered to your office or to your house or wherever you want it. So that you can get around. In real estate, what you guys do with your websites is very, very different than what the pizza company or somebody else may do with a website. So it's very industry specific how you comply with all of these and what you're going to have to work with in order to provide help for visually impaired or
Jason. Well, Jason,
this is when the screen goes black and it says, sorry, technical difficulties.
Well, while we're unfreezing Jason, because he's worthy of being unfrozen, it's Web Content Accessibility Guidelines. That's the WCAG. And it's an interesting read, guys, if anyone wants to look that up while we get Jason back online. David, did you have any other questions that came through yet?
Not yet. Just working on getting Jason back in the room right now.
Okay. As you can see, as we've gone through this, guys, this came from a Domino's Pizza website, and how does that affect us? And so this next part that Jason's going to get into is super important for us as brokers, as realtors. I know many of us have our own websites and how this affects us, and that there isn't a clear-cut guideline, but that we have to, that we need to comply with what Jason's going to be talking about anyway. I think that's the biggest message this morning, is that we have to roll up our sleeves and get busy on this, even if the guidelines are not specific and clear.
Well, Madam President, I think as we start to see more and more litigation in this field, we understand how litigious people are, and it's a matter of time. It's not if, it's when these lawsuits start to impact realtors. And from that standpoint, one of the things we're trying to do is get out ahead of it with some recommendations that we think will help realtors as they go through not only their website, but their business models. And although Jason's talking about websites today, some of this is applicable in your daily business as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely it is. And, you know, I've had folks say, you know, this is really affecting us here in Idaho right now. And I said, absolutely it is. Stephanie Reef, she is the AE, the CEO of Selkirk Association, just put a really good link on there. And those guidelines, you can kind of get a gist of the direction that this is going. But David, as you were just saying, and as we have kind of talked about this subject, what are some of the other areas that we're seeing, not just websites, but what were the other things that we were talking about?
Well, I think as you look at not only marketing material, but you start to look and think about how open houses are conducted. You start to think about how your showings transpire over the course of the day, and how and what accommodations you could make for individuals with recognized disabilities. As we think about it, you know, the whole notion of technology and the technology we're deploying is meant to make it easier for people to access information and access the information that you're providing, not only to your clients, but to potential buyers. And what we're seeing is that whether that's technologically based, whether that's written, whatever that material is, the question will come up: what accommodations are you making for individuals who have recognized disabilities? One of the things that I don't know that Jason's going to get into today, but one of the things Idaho Realtors is looking at is the whole distinction between service animals and other types of animals, whether they're support, they're, and the distinction that the ADA draws between service animals and recognized animals that are helping individuals with disabilities. And so we are seeing more and more of that across Idaho, and in talking with some legislators, there is a desire to help clarify the distinction between and what protections need to be made available under the ADA. So it's an ongoing discussion, and it's one that's not going to go away. I think that it's only going to be more complicated, and as realtors adjust their business to meet the needs of clients, especially in a COVID-19 environment, we're relying on that technology more and more, and it's only going to open up these issues, and the notion of accessibility and accommodation is going to be at the forefront of those conversations. So
well, and I love that we're having the conversation today, and I know that Jason is coming back on board. I can see he's en route. The eagle has landed. But we're realtors, and so we are ahead of the curve. We do, you know, look towards the future and how we can make our businesses better and make it better for our clients. So you know, I think that's why one of the reasons that this Wednesday webinar is so important for us to focus on. So Jason had to get back in front of the legal books because it couldn't be legit if he's not there. But come on in, Jason, you're muted. Let's see. David, can we help him with that, or?
Got it here. I think maybe on my end. All right, I'm in my bag.
You ran a marathon.
Yes, actually, I'm on my cell phone now.
Okay.
The internet in my entire law firm went down, which has been reliable all throughout this.
Well, of course.
This stuff. It's only when I'm presenting does it go down, and if that's not bad enough, our United States senators in the next room over also on a Zoom call who got booted. So.
Oh no.
Fun times. So I'm a little out of breath.
Okay.
I'm coming to you now from my cell phone.
So we did, Jason, while you get your breath, We did put up Stephanie put up some guidelines. We also just talked about how we're talking about websites today, but how this could kind of expand into how we do our business.
Yes, thank you. That's good. And I'm not sure what the link was. David, I've lost the ability to share my screen because I'm on my cell phone. So
okay.
And actually, David, if you want to now, if you just go to the Realtor NAR's website at the very beginning of it, if David can take that over and share so we can all see it, I'll show you what it is. And of course, the internet goes down right when I say, this is what you all been waiting for. This is
I know. We went, like, what?
Yes, it was probably the ambulance chasing lawyers that I was making fun of earlier, the ones sending these letters. Anyway, so David, can you share screen? If you go to NAR, NAR.realtor, their website will show at the very bottom of it, there are some links. And these links, we see them on all the websites. They're down there. They're in the legal, at the very bottom. And so it's something that you'll see. And, it looks like Dave's, great. Okay. So if you scroll down to the very bottom of that now, and you'll see there is a link at the bottom that says accessibility. And keep going. It's all the way at the very, very bottom. And again, like I said, it's in the fine print that we don't always pay attention to, but it's important that it's there. Perfect. Right there on the left side, you'll see that accessibility right there. Go if you do nothing from this, take nothing from this webinar, other than tell your webpage designer to go there and make a link just like this for your website. Okay. So this link, and NAR has said you can use this. So what you can do is you do this. This is a place for somebody who needs accessibility to go. One of the first things it says is, look, we're committed to this. We're here to help you. And here's how we can help. And you can literally just cut and paste this, use your own language, make it your own. You don't have to change it all. You can just literally cut and paste it. And at least you've got something here, right? So you can see that first tab is, I don't see very well. What can I do? And they provide some help. And they say, you can do these different things. So at a minimum, now you've got something that you can defend yourself with this letter that comes to you. And it probably won't come to you because they're going to check your website out first, right? So they're going to say, oh, these guys figured it out. They've got this link at this bottom, this accessibility thing. I'm not going to mess with them because I may or may not win in court, because this right here could be enough to say, look, we're trying. We don't have rules from DOJ, but we're trying. That's the minimum. There is something else you can do. And David, I'm going to give you another URL here that I had up on my screen. And this is going to be kind of fun to do remotely with David. But David, if you can go to the URL www.mosaics, PS. So Mosaics Public School is what it's for. MOSAICS Public School. I'm just going to give you an example of a website that's taken it to the next level, and then I'm going to tell you how to take it to the next level in what you guys are doing. I'm sorry if I'm going to move my camera, which is probably going to mess everything up. But again, it's
you're doing great, Jason. Thank you.
Well, okay, great. We're sharing again. Let's see if David got there. It is. Okay. So this is a website that was designed here by a local designer who I've been working with on how to provide tools to help you. Dave, if you'll scroll down and look at the bottom of the screen, there should be another accessibility tab going down there, then you'll see what happens when we click on these folks down here. Let's see, where are they? Oops, hold on, I've got it. Let me get to, I'm sorry, I'm doing it on my website too, and I had it queued up, and I don't know how it's working, but David, if you go, click on that non-discrimination link down there. See if it comes up. Okay, now start scrolling down and watch your screen for a little blue icon that appears. No, it's not that blue icon, it's a different one. Let me show you. David, why don't you put it back to mine and see what happens? Because it's happening on my laptop. I don't know why it's not coming up on your screen. But let me go back to this, and I will. Boy, we're really testing our technological skills now. Okay, so here's my screen that I'm looking at. Down here in the corner, you're going to see this little symbol. As I scrolled on this website, as I move around, this thing comes up, right? This little guy down here, it's familiar to all of us. And if you click on that, that takes you to like a whole nother, I can't click and record at the same time. So if I click on that, it pops me up, and it pops up a whole nother sort of world for accessibility. So this is really next level. And what happens and how this works is there is a website company that this particular website, this public school website, has contracted with a website developer who has all these tools. And you can see there's these profiles on here, so that, you know, if you're visually impaired, you can do different things like turn on, you know, speech over text. And so what this school site did was, and they hired a guy. Their website is managed by a guy that's whose information I'm going to give you. He's a local guy. His name is, we call him Jed Split, because his last name is too hard to pronounce. And the best part is he is a realtor. He also sells real estate on the side, and not on the side. Not that anybody does it on the side, right? But this is his passion is doing website design. It's what he started doing, but he's now doing real estate as well. So he really understands your industry. And so I'm giving you this contact information right here. This guy's out of Boise, Idaho. He is local. He has taken upon himself to educate himself on this problem and these threatening letters that are going around. So we recommend you reach out to Jed. Jed will then, he can work with you. He can work with your website designer. He can get you to the point to where your website has that little button that pops up, that little floating disability circle, and really take your website to the next level, which provides yet another layer of protection. And I'm sure that what we can do and is probably put that link up or that information up somewhere on
Uh-oh, did we lose Jason again? There he is.
Sorry, I told you I'm messing with I don't know what I'm doing. Okay. Okay.
No, that's great.
Oh.
We will, David,
Okay.
we can make sure that we get that information, Jason,
Sure.
and maybe post it on the Idaho Realtor site.
And Jed's a great guy, and he's there to help for you all, and he's a great resource too. All your professional website folks are going to start getting educated on this. If they aren't already, they know how to do that. And like I said, the way this all works, I'm not going to go in the technology of how that all works in the background, but essentially there's this overlay, and if you pay this company, and I think it starts like $500 annual fee, they literally will take your website and they will make sure that all the information you're putting on your website is compatible and can be read to somebody who is visually impaired, or that it meets whatever standards are out there. There's various companies that will do that. Some of them even provide a litigation guarantee that say that if you get sued, we will defend you, or we will help you with your lawsuit. Something like that. So
Jason, so that's totally next level, and I think everybody on this Wednesday webinar this morning is headed there. But if they wanted to do something this week, that NAR link would probably be, if they needed something like right now.
Right now, yep.
And so did NAR actually come out and say, okay, guys, this is here for you to use?
Yes, they have. They specifically said, we're here, and you'll see some videos on their website, and they have said, look, we're here to help you. That's what they do. We all know NAR works very hard to help in everything that you do. It's part of your member dues. They take it seriously, and they provide solutions to problems. And this is a problem attacking your industry. So they have helped by providing that solution. They have said, please steal this. It's not stealing because it's permission. And but yes, that was provided specifically by NAR for that purpose. They encourage you to use it, and it shouldn't take you very long if you email your website designer today and say, look, I need this little link at the bottom, and it just needs to go to that NAR pop-up, or cut and paste the language. They should be able to get it done by day's end. Depends on how complicated your website is, I suppose. But that's the one takeaway. That's hey, if you want to do it now. That will provide you with at least some line of defense. And like I said, and like all lawyers will always say, you can't guarantee that you're not going to get sued, or you're not going to lose, or what have you. But we just provide lines of defense that you could use if you are subject to one of these demand letters, or
Jason,
God forbid, lawsuit. Yes, Chris.
Jason, Chris Mooney. Just expand on that a little bit about so all we'd have to do is, are you suggesting that we just copy that link from NAR accessibility and just drop that link onto our website as today, or do we have to do something other? I'm looking at that, and it's obviously branded by NAR and so on.
It is, but and if your website guys should be able to take the text and remove that brand at the minimum. Even if you did it, even if you just did a link to the NAR link and that came up, again, it's a tool that you could use. So at the minimum, you could do that. And the advice that's provided by NAR isn't specific to their web page, right? If you look at it, and I'm just doing it here, you click on these links and it sort of tells you, how can I do things? And they actually take you to some external links on the Social Security website.
Okay.
So if you did nothing other than cut and paste to the NAR link, you would work. I think with minimal involvement from your NAR, or from your professional website team, they could probably get rid of that branding and actually make it your own. And NAR is provided their consent to do that.
Okay. Thank you, Jason.
I think that was one of our biggest takeaways this morning is that this link exists. And so then we have Krista Deacon. Can you please share Jed's contact info? Jason, does David have his contact info yet, or we'll get that?
No, I had it all perfectly lined up so I could present it by sharing my screen.
Oh.
I was way ahead of the world, and then the internet went down, and all my best laid plans, right? So
well,
I'm
no,
copying
it looks like Joey
right now.
Moya to the rescue.
I'm
Joey, thank you. You've got a great smile. I see you smiling this morning. That's awesome. Joey just shared it with us.
Great. Okay.
Just share Jed's information. Thank you.
And I'll email that to David too right now, so that so you guys can put that up to reach out.
Fantastic.
To him.
Do we have any other questions, guys?
Jason, could you reshare the Mosaic, or if David could, the Mosaic link? I went searching for it, but I couldn't.
And I'm not sure why. Obviously, it behaves differently on different computers, because on mine, you could see that little disability logo is popping up, and on David's it wasn't yet. So I'm not sure why, but the URL was www.mosaic, MOSAICPS.org. I didn't even look at it. I don't even know who they are. They're a public school. It looks like a charter school or something like that. In Canyon County. But that's the website.
Thank you.
Mosaic PS .org. If I didn't say that, was I saying .com? .org. So mosaics.ps.org. Mosaic.ps.org. And I'm sure that IR can find a way to share those links in there. And that's the Mosaics is just provided as an example of what the next level kind of looks like. They are paying somebody, a third party company, to do an overlay to try to help folks out with who might have those disabilities. And it's a good thing to do. I mean, obviously, like I said at the beginning of this, the ADA, we don't want to let these folks that are abusing the ADA give the ADA, a bad name. I mean, there's a good purpose behind it, and we should all strive to provide accessibility. Whether we agree or disagree with what the lawyers that are sending the demand letters are doing, we should all take these efforts, and it's something that we can do that hopefully is a low enough bar that it can be industry standard before too long.
Love it. Let's see. Kathy's asking if we've got an example of adding the NAR link, and what would that look like? David, I think that, are we going to add that link to our Idaho Realtor website? Come back in here. There you are.
Yes, we will. We'll have that. It's also in the chat for those folks who want to click on that, but we will have that on our website as well.
I think she'd like an example of what that will look like, what that can look like on your site. And as Jason was sharing, it looks like if you just scroll down to the bottom of your own website, that's where that, where maybe that little link could live. Perfect. Any other questions? Jason, what's one of the biggest misconceptions of all of this? I know that as we have talked about this in the past, I think for the average realtor, the average broker that has a website, it just seems so huge to be able to solve this problem.
Yeah.
What do you think is one of the biggest misconceptions, and how we can get around that?
The biggest misperception is probably right now the fact that it's not a thing, right? Like the court dismissed it, which they did at first, but as we all know, that people have the right to appeal. And so whenever a high profile case gets some treatment, by district court, it's favorable and it's dismissed, people hear that, right? But then they don't always hear that it's overturned. So I would say the biggest misconception out there is, oh, this was 2 years ago and it's not a thing and it's been taken care of. You know, I would say that's the biggest misperception. So I think a good takeaway and a good message to spread is it's back. It is a thing, and we need to be, be aware of it, and don't be afraid by the idea of trying to solve this. Right, this is what we have professionals for. Hire website companies, and I would imagine most of you guys, your industry is very tech savvy. You guys use you're using apps, you're using websites, you're using a lot of latest tech. Those people know how to deal with this. They'll figure it out. I couldn't imagine how it is that you describe, because you guys do so much of what you do with pictures, which are just, they're visual aids. Somebody who is visually impaired can't see those visual aids. And so they're going to lose a lot of that. And so don't be overwhelmed by the idea of, well, how can I possibly do that? Am I going to have to describe what every picture is, bedroom with window on left side? Don't get caught up in that. Let the professionals handle that. They've got ways to deal with it. And ultimately, actually, and I owe credit to David, we were talking about this on the way in this morning on the way into work when we were talking about this webinar. The odds are that you've dealt with, or your brokerage has dealt with somebody who's had, a disability, whether, especially, even if it's visually impaired, there may be somebody on this call who's had that experience and maybe can tell us about it. But when you're talking to somebody and you're doing a home, showing, or you're walking somebody through a home, what would you do if they were visually impaired? And just kind of think about that. So this is not something that we can't overcome. This is something we can deal with, and we just need to do what we can to try to help out, end those lawsuits, and continue to provide the great services to those who reach out to you. And it's just yet one more example of why you need realtors in every transaction. You can't do these by yourself or with some sort of generic website.
Well, Jason, would you agree that the worst thing would be to do nothing?
Absolutely, I would.
So,
we're seeing these right now going out. Yeah.
So in essence, if you're trying to provide a reasonable accommodation, and whether that's the ability to speak to an individual, even though the Domino's case addressed that, doing nothing is the worst case scenario. Attempting to provide reasonable accommodations in addition to the information that we showed on the NAR website seems to me to at least put you in the position where you can defend and make a reasonable case that you tried, and that whether it fell short or not is a matter of degree and something that could be discussed. And we can always improve on this, but I think that's the starting point, is we need to do something.
Completely agree. Absolutely.
Wonderful. Do we have any other questions or comments, guys? And if somebody has, figured a lot of this out, or is using something, doing something that's really working for your brokerage, we'd love you to share it. I think that the biggest message is that this is something that we're dealing with right here. Jason, when you say these letters are going out, what does that mean? What do you mean by that?
So what'll happen is there are they're law firms usually from New York, or you're getting some big city lawyer that writes a letter, and it says, we are representing disabled folks or group of individuals, and we've reviewed your website, and that it does not comply with the law, and we are going to sue you because you're out of compliance with the law. But there's a bunch of ands and different things, but the bottom line is, unless you send us money. If you send us $5,000 to settle this right now and promise us that you will get your website fixed, then we won't sue you. And that's the demand. That's what you see. And when they come in, there's various levels of these. There are some people that are just printing these out and hoping that they work, because unfortunately, in this day and age, you can send one of those letters. Some lawyer can send a letter and he gets $5,000, and he spent 5 minutes putting together a letter. And, so take them seriously. There are lawyers who are taking this to the distance, and they are going to use you as an example, just like they use Domino's. So take it seriously, and you got to be able to reply to it. Like David said, any defense that we can add, right? Like, I'm trying. I attended a webinar for an hour of my life yesterday. That was, I'm trying to learn. I'm trying to do something. Those are defenses we can use. Put that link to NAR at the bottom and say, not only did I try, I did something. DOJ hasn't given us rules. I'm trying, and then I was researching, getting my internet people to do the overlay. There's all those things that are out there that we can at least do that. So if you get the letter, take it seriously, reach out, you got to have legal counsel reply to it. Don't ignore it. But the best of all, do something out in front, get in front of these things so that your lawyer has something to defend you with.
I love that. And I would also add, guys, make this one of your brokerage, your Monday morning or Thursday morning meetings. Bring your realtors in and you guys talk about this, talk about how you would address some of these things. And again, just the layers of trying to get this right, I think is super important.
And we all know that teams are using their own websites now, right? So addressing it at a brokerage level may not solve the problem. Those team websites, any website that's a website of an agent who hangs his license at a brokerage is going to implicate the brokerage. And so you got to make sure that all your folks all the way down the line are aware of this and are implementing whatever tools you've got.
David?
I know that there's some folks that are just listening. Sorry, Chris, I'll get right to you. But Tina asked if it's possible if we're going to record this session. It is recorded. So we will be sending that out to the Idaho Realtor members this week. So just be watching for that. Chris, go ahead.
I was just going to ask David whether or not, or does he have a time frame for when information that us as AEs can share with our brokers and whatnot that would be up on the IR website?
This week, David?
Yeah, thank you, Chris. We'll be working on that. And as we're going through this, I went to the Idaho Realtor website, and we need to have our own verbiage for folks who may need accommodations as well. So we will be looking at the language that NAR provided, and we will have some version of that copied onto our website as well. So the short answer is yes, this week we want to put out the information to the AEs so that you can share that, pass that along, but also we want to make sure that this recording is available to all the members. So again, you can take the appropriate first steps in this process.
I also want to add, guys, that one of the wonderful things about being an Idaho Realtor is that you have access to the hotline. You have access to the legal hotline, to the Idaho Realtor office, to our CEO, David, to our staff. Let us help you. If you've got any questions, do not hesitate to call and reach out. We may not have the answers right away, but we'll get them. We're all in this together. Is there any other questions?
I can throw out one more thing if we've got time.
Yes, please.
So, oops, hopefully I didn't interfere. I just got a phone call. Hopefully, oh, it's my wife.
Nope, you're good.
Anyway, nobody tell anybody. I just ignored my wife when she called. The Zoom on my phone is a different experience. So what I would say also to go along with what you just said, Marion, is there are member services that are available, at least I know, to associations and probably brokers as well. There is a cyber insurance policy that is offered through partnership with NAR. Go on their website, check it out. It provides defenses to, and I'm not sure if this is going to be covered, but I know, like, if you get hacked and your website gets, held hostage, or they do that, they encrypt it or they hijack something, that's also something that's happening out there, we know. And again, this is that's a ransom situation, right, where they demand money from you. They have a great insurance program that covers that. It involves a consultation with a national firm, forensics firm that sees all of that and is not surprised by any of it, knows how to handle it when you're pulling your hair out because your site's down and nobody can see your listings, or God forbid they can't get through to get to transactional documents, whatever. They've got a policy that these guys just say, come in, they're on board, and they're there to help you out. It's like an ID theft type thing, if you've heard of it, but it deals with the cyber side of it.
Oh, that was a fantastic addition. Yeah, there's lots of resources out there for us. I think the main focus today for this Wednesday webinar, we really wanted to bring you this information and let you know that this is real, and that there are things we can do. We can do this week. Fantastic. Jason, do you have anything else to add?
No, I'm just like we summarized, it's real, it's out there, and we just need to educate people, and we all can take some minimal efforts that will help help you if you unfortunately get one of those letters. And appreciate the opportunity to be here today. And if you have questions, like Marion said, you can always call the legal hotline, and we can fill you in a little bit on what we've said here.
Wonderful. Jason, I don't think you're going to need a workout today. I think you got it in. And wonderful. Thanks for being so nimble and being able to pivot, make that happen. Yeah. David Hensley, I'd like to invite you back in. Do you have anything to add? You and the staff are on this, I know. I appreciate that too. What can we expect in the next week?
I just want to thank the staff for all their hard work, of course, coming out of convention and making today possible and a success. Technology is great until it's not. And as we have learned over the course of the last year,
yeah,
is a very appropriate and important aspect of what we do. Over the course of the next week, we're going to get this information out to the members, make sure people understand that, and hopefully help them better their websites in order to serve the clients. At the end of the day, we want to make sure that we're giving them all the tools they need to be successful in their businesses. So look forward to that. And that's what I had, Madam President. Thank you. Wonderful.
Thank you. I would personally like to thank the staff again. They have worked so hard in the last few months to make sure convention was pulled off, and this Wednesday webinar. Our next Wednesday webinar will be at the end of November, so be watching for that. And I just again wanted to thank our sponsor today, Mason with Ibex Home Warranty. Thank you for that. We are in this together, guys, and we have learned some amazing skills in these challenging times, and I think it really has brought us together. And so when there is a challenge or something that we need to maybe level up in, we come together and we figure it out, and that's what we did today. So thank you for your time. I know you're all so busy. Thank you for giving it your best, for your professionalism. Jason Risch, thank you again. You're amazing. We appreciate your leadership. David and staff, thank you. And then above all of that, Idaho Realtors, thank you for doing the good work every day and watching out for our industry. We appreciate you. Have a great day, everyone.